Okay, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We have two guests here coming in live with us. We're going to have Astro Bree and RyBland Astrology. They're currently backstage. They're actually in the last couple of stages of some research, pulling up the eclipse, which is going to be at 29 degrees in Aries, which is going to be like, oh my God, what a karmic cataclysmic event getting ready to go down with the sun and moon in Aries. We're going to talk Venus in Aries. It's been there for a couple of days now. It might be at about 2 degrees, but Venus is really moving fast. They were both talking about it just recently, seconds ago. I was talking to them in backstage. Like I said, Jupiter is in. There's so much Aryan energy. We're really coming across a brand new season of belief. The two astrologers and myself will break that down. The North Node will come in Aries. We're going to be likely showing you some different charts as I cancel out these people's. Wow. We're going to be showing y'all some different charts between the solar eclipse as well as the North Node when it goes there. South Node will be in Libra. It's a big shift leaving out of Scorpionic. And we talk nodes. We're always talking faded moments as well as direction on a collective. So thumbs up for everybody on the screen. I'm getting ready to invite both my two guests, RyBland Astrology as well as Astro Bree Astrology. This is going to be amazing in the initiation of the Godhead. So let's go ahead and add them one by one. And what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? How y'all doing? Let's get y'all a little custom-made thumbs up live show. Astro Bree, RyBland. You know, get about what we have a lot to talk about, right? You got my Wi-Fi acting funk. We have so much to talk about today. So as a part of that, feel free, give it to us. Okay. You know, let's start with Ry. What are you most excited about when it comes to these Aryan placements in the sky and the new direction we're taking?
Yeah, I mean, for me, Aries season is always my favorite season just because it's just the start of everything new. I mean, especially like after going through like a long winter, every winter is really long. And even though like right now we're still in Pisces season, we get like a early start to Aries season. Like we got more stuff in Aries than Pisces, right? And we're just gonna keep on going along that way, going into actual Aries season, and then like with the whole solar eclipse. So there's just so much. You know, we got Jupiter already there, Venus is there now, the sun's gonna go there, and then the nodes are like slowly coming our way. So it's like it's a nice collision course in the best of ways.
You said the word collision course in the best of ways. Wow, I like the collision because this is what Aries likes to do, right? It's the ram. So you already see the uniqueness coming in from each one of the astrologers. Bree, what are you most excited about when it comes to this transit? Maybe even something different than what Ry just said. Like, give your spin on it.
It's funny that he said collision course because I've done, as you know, I go back with my astrology. I always look backwards and I try to find a pattern with previous times. And we get eclipses every 18 years in the same signs. That's how it works. There was a really big collision that happened when the Titanic sunk, and that was an eclipse in Aries. So yeah, the whole like collision is yeah, we could be expecting some really crazy headlines, and I believe that they're going to be describing what's coming for 2024 and 2025 as we experience the nodes all the way through Aries, because this eclipse has the nodes right at the edge of Taurus, like right before it tips back in, because as we know, the nodes go backwards, right? Especially like the North Node goes backwards, and it's moving backwards through Taurus and into Aries. And then in that last hug, I believe that we're going to see some pretty big, crazy headlines that will eventually kind of echo the effect of what's coming over the next 2.5 years. We're going to see some characters pop up, some names start to really become notorious and infamous that will eventually become headliners over the next couple of years in public attention.
So I'm excited to make sure that for the audience, we're going to break everything that both of these two just said down in English. I'm going to make sure we break this both down into a very precise and simple language that everybody can understand. So definitely stay tuned let's potentially, we have a special guest on here with his Venus in Aries, and I think that's the best place that we both can start for Mr. Ry. Like, you know, you have a natal Venus in Aries. What can you tell us about Venus in Aries, having it as a part of your natal, and then us coming back into it? We step into this season. What's up, dude?
Happy return.
Happy Venus return, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like mine just I'm really in the midst of it right now. Like I'm 1 degree off of so my Venus return happened, I think, yesterday. And you know, it's just really funny how we're leaving Taurus and Scorpio with the nodes, and then that's all about like power struggles and, you know, being like having the courage to actually get into committed relationships and then leave them. And like we had like Eclipse season last year, and then like that flipped me on my head in so many different areas. But you know, with Venus ingressing into Aries, it's a new season when it comes to love and relationships and new friendships and new ventures and just everything where you're partnering up with people, you're redefining how you love yourself. Like it's a new cycle of love in every manner. So it's funny, just like linking the new, like where the nodes are going and the season that we're going in. It's like everything's like coming like this. It's not going out, it's going in. And I just really love that right now, you know?
I love what you just said. Like, I feel like a lot of people skip the fact that, like, I personally believe that Aries is a way more intense and passionate lover than Libra. I mean, I feel like we always associate romance and love with Libra, but it's like, I think Aries is a much more like in your face lover. Like, I love you or I don't. Yeah. It's not even like I hate you. I don't even feel like it's ever like I hate you. It's like I love you or I don't. And you know, it's so good for you.
My Libra moon's a little hurt by that. I'm just saying.
if he was to maybe potentially share, your Libra's heartbroken about it.
My Libra moon's like, wait, what?
I hear you, and Venus in return, you know, for all of us. I'm bouncing in and out. I see that. I might have to change my Wi-Fi over just in case. I know. No, I think I'm gonna have to change my Wi-Fi over, but I might. 1 second, in case I gap out. 1 second.
No worries.
Okay. Yeah, I knew. I was like, I was thinking someone's got some Libra stuff in here. Someone's gonna be offended.
My Libra moon sees Aries as the other side, right? So like anytime there's a sister sign access, there's this beautiful middle point. And I think that's what the nodes are teaching us as they cycle through, is they teach us to find the center point, right? So the passionate, I love you, I don't care for you, is right at one end, and at the other end, Libra is I compromise for everything, right? So you meet in the middle, and that's a healthy balance between self and other.
Yeah.
But you can't go one way, you can't go too much that way, you can't go too much this way, or you end up sacrificing the opportunity to experience the full vibration.
Yeah. And then like with Aries, it's like what you're saying, like either I love you or I don't. A lot of times it's like literally just on this end of the spectrum, or you're like, I don't want to be a part of the spectrum at all. And then Libra's like, oh, we're a team. Like you gotta be with me. And Libra's like, no, I'm with me. And if I want to pull you in, then I'll pull you in. But if I don't, then this is just not, it's a no-go. But yeah.
I think that's absolutely what I meant about. It's like it's much more intense and passionate lover, right? Like there's not much thinking involved. It's like a baby, right? I love you or I don't. Like it's not much. That's what I meant when I said intense. When you had that Martian, that Scorpionic type of love, like I think sometimes we separate Aries and Scorpio way too much. Where it's like it's hell of intense. It's like I'm gonna love you and go to the end of the world for you, or I'm just not, because I'm concerned and instinctually driven towards something else that I do love. You know what I mean? Like, but when I really feel into it, it's like, you know what I mean? It's very love orientated. But I feel like Libra has more, it's more concerned with like resources and showing its love in a way that just intellectually makes sense. It's like, look, we need to secure the home. We need to secure this relationship. We need to secure this professional relationship so that I can provide, right? Versus Aries is like, look, I may not even think that far, but I'm going to provide in what means the most now, like in this exact moment. I might not think too far ahead, but right now we got to get food. So I'm going to get the food now. You know what I mean? Versus planning for the apocalypse. Like, right. What we got here?
It's definitely hunter-gatherer.
Sun, North Node, Mercury, Venus, and Aries. Yeah. So, okay. We talked a little bit about Venus and Aries. Okay.
And Jupiter.
The first couple conjunctions, what's going to happen? Is it Venus and Jupiter?
Yeah, that's going to be March 1st.
Wow. That's so soon.
March 1st. So March 1st, and then March 6th or March 7th, we have Pisces going into Saturn. So that's going to really kind of switch up the flavor, right? We're leaving all those energies of Aquarius that'll make a very harmonious relationship with Aries, and we're kind of switching into this Piscean energy, which is kind of, it's going to work together with the sun there already, right? I think Venus might already be, Venus is already gone out of Pisces. So March 1st, this is not time for Bree to see the chart yet, right?
That's the love bomb, right? Like March 1st, when Mars and Venus and Jupiter are conjuncting in Mars's sign, that's a love bomb.
Yeah, all the relationships that like started around Valentine's Day, that shit might blow up. those are either going, it's gonna one way or the other. I'm like, that is one of those, like, there may be a lot of oh, will you marry me? And then the other person's like, I just met you last month. I'm not sure if that.
Yo, you know what's crazy? That just happened. I just saw on Facebook an old client when I was working in the exercise industry. Just said something like she met this guy she knew in the moment she was gonna marry him. So she asked him to marry him like sometime after 2 months. It's kind of the energy that I feel like you're talking about. Is like, I knew it. I married him. You know, I asked him to marry in 2 months, and she made whatever proposition later. But it's like, yo, we're talking months, right? Yes. Like at the end of the day, no matter what, we're talking, wow, this happened in 2 months. So I feel you on that.
Yeah, it's love bomb energy. But at the same time with Chiron here, I feel like this isn't a regular love bomb. This is from healing or recognizing at least a real wound, a deep parental wound. Because Chiron is it's an asteroid. It sits between Jupiter and Uranus, I believe. Like it's the connector between the outer planets and the inner planets, right? So this frequency of having not quite a planet and not quite an asteroid also equals the hold on, I'm human, but I'm actually animal mind, and I'm never going to feel completely accepted in myself. That's Chiron's energy, right? Chiron's involved in this Aries stuff for the first time. That's the biggest difference that I found when I went backwards and I did all the research on the different new moons eclipses, is that Chiron's here this time. And he's a slow moving planet. So it's been decades since he was involved in one of these. And when he's involved in one of these, there's this cathartic transformation that's meant to recognize the ego wound, like the big ego wound that like, I recognize that I'm not a completely healed person. And I'm not, in some cases it's going to project onto other people, but in most cases it's going to be like, okay, I am absolving my flaws so that I can be completely invested in these relationships, in these connections. And I'm going to let you call me on my shit, and I'm going to drop the pride, and I'm going to own it and move forward. So a lot of this love bombing is coming with a very cathartic healing. I work as a psychic online. I do a lot of love reading, and I'm telling you, like, that the whole like twin flame karmic partner journey, it's different than it's been in a very long time. Right now, it's very much focused on, okay, I've healed this part of me. I need to go test it against partnership. I need to test it and throw that spaghetti at the wall and see if it sticks.
Yeah, that's I love that.
Right. What you feeling about that? I feel like you got something that you wanna spew out. I want to give you a little solo moment. What are you feeling about in response to what Bree just presented us?
Yeah, I mean, she's absolutely right, because Chiron is it's the nail, right, in this whole Aries season. I call it a season, you know, not just the sun, but all these other planets, all this energy. like Chiron is the one that makes the difference, the biggest difference, right? We got Venus and Jupiter and you know the sun and all, like it's all there and that's all good and fine. We've seen that before, but Chiron being thrown in the mix, like I was kind of saying with the Venus and Jupiter conjunction, like there are things that are going to be messy. Like naturally, it's not going to be all happy and you know, oh, everyone's getting into new relationships. It's like, okay, you might jump into a new relationship and then not even be healed from your past stuff, and that's where Chiron is presenting. Like, okay, guess what? We still got work to do. Slow your roll. Chiron is I feel Chiron is it's already here now, but it's as we get more stuff in Aries, we're going to realize we got to slow down a little bit. Yeah. And then we're going to go into Taurus season, and then we're going to be like, oh, okay, we slowed down in Aries season. Now let's keep working with our stuff, right?
And that's almost like if we slow down, right?
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's a big ass if.
I mean, something's going to happen, right? Like just in mundane terms, like we're going to get a halt. Hopefully not a COVID halt, but definitely a halt where we're going to be like, okay, we can't go 100 miles an hour or we're going to die. You know, like whether it's in love or in our, like just us with work, like in any field that we trying to go 100 miles an hour, something's going to happen where it's like, okay, let's think this through before we hurt ourselves.
No, so you know what's amazing about what you just said? If I look back into human design, you know, Aries has a lot of these gates that are about delegation and organization. Like it has a lot of opinions, but it's the more evolved format of Aries, where it's like it has this this power, this willpower, this heart strength that says, look, because I actually am in this big boss stage, I can delegate. And that's where I think it starts to integrate this Libra energy on the opposite, that business-like energy, where it's like, yo, I actually have these strong opinions and I have so many of them and they're all so passionate that I need more workers. Like I need to integrate and fuse in with others so that I can start using these opinions that I have and test them, but they're too many. So I need to give one to Ry. I need to give another one to Bree, and I need them to run their own sub-departments, right? It's like, I got this grand scheme. I got this entire institute, but these are my professors. You know what I mean? And so Aries has a lot of that type of energy of like actually forward vision, you know, ajna. I think one of them is in the ajna, for example, and like two more are in the heart center, like where our willpower and our ambition, our ego lies, but not ego in a traditional sense, right? Like a healthy ego, like it's exalted in the sun for a reason. There's a healthy ego that Aries does get to engage with. And so I feel like what you just said really matters, where when we add this North Node element coming in, where we're all kind of going, it's like, look, we're all individuals with a passion, a power that when we delegate, when we forgive, because Aries is, my personal opinion, is one of the most forgiving signs. Like when we actually forgive from our counterpart of Scorpio, who may be a little less forgiving, when we forgive as the masculine energy and we can give our light and not be held by our shadow, if you will, which somebody else spoke a little bit earlier, this Chiron and the energy is like, we're not going to be acting from shadow wounds anymore. We're going to turn them into sacred wounds. I really feel like this is when we're going to start recognizing this is the part when the South Node, aka what we're coming from, what we're releasing, right, in Libra, will start to matter in the second half of the year, because we're going to look at those partnerships that we had that didn't turn out how we expected, right? They failed the expectation, but it's like we're going to be able to detach from the expectation. We're going to be able to look at, all right, well, here was my individual role and why this relationship failed, why this business partnership didn't work, why this, you know, romantic or platonic friendship only went to here and then it capsized, right? And so I think we're going to take a more honest Aryan type view on, I can forgive the situation. Like I've seen my part a little bit better, and as I do, I can't determine how someone else is supposed to react when I have my own part. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm not that person and that person's not me. So we can kind of, you know, we can find our way to find that middle ground, that balance beam, if you will.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, I love that, and that's a unique way of looking at it, and that brought me to think about how Pluto's in the last degrees of Capricorn, when you're talking about like delegating, kind of having sub departments, and because Aries is a leader, you know, people forget that like Aries it's very solo, but it also wants to, I think Aries wants to work with people, but it also wants to always do its own thing.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't necessarily want to be alone all the time. That's why
Aries does not. Aries, you know, the way I best look at Aries, Aries does not want to be alone at all.
No.
It's one of these things, and I've seen this for myself. Aries wants a partner actually always present. They just don't always want them to talk. Now, that may sound mad rude, but it's simply true. Like, look at a marriage couple, right? It's like when you're married, you want a lot of times that person wants their partner around, but they don't always want them to talk. Like if I look at me and my partner, I say the same thing. It's like, you know, every once in a while, like I'm just like, I'm silent right now. Like I want you here energetically and physically. I just don't care to talk right now. Like I want to do my own thing. I want to read a book. Guess what? I can't talk to you while I'm reading a book. I want you here, but I just want to read. Yeah. Right. And it's about, you know what I mean? It's about communicating that. And that's where I feel like this is where the shadow of Libra's energy comes in, where it's like when we address our Chiron runes, it's like, look, this is what I am. And this is what it takes to be an individual. I don't know about y'all, but my parents, they both have their Chiron in Aries. I don't know about y'all's, right? But it's like, I know I grew up in a generation where almost all of our parents have Chiron in Aries. Chiron doesn't move fast. Yeah. Right? Like
Chiron in Pisces. So it's like in that same.
Chiron, right next to it. Exactly. So, you know, when I look at it, for me, it's almost like my parents didn't know how to communicate effectively, you know, without addressing certain selfish needs, where that's not bad. Where it's like, when you look at Libra, that marriage expectation type energy is like, well, this is how marriage is supposed to be. They grew up with an image of, well, you're supposed to be there with your partner through thick and thin and, you know, sickness and health. And there's these expectations of this not realistic form of being with a person you live with for long term. It might work in the short run, right? You got your honeymoon phase, yada, yada, but long term, you add 20 years, you add decades. It's like people need to respect themselves in order to actually maintain a long-term sustainable Saturnian relationship, aka the exaltation of Libra and Saturn, you know, long-term. So what do you feel about that?
My parents were born, I was born to boomers. I'm a early, like very beginning millennial. I'm 39 now. I just had my solar return a few days ago. So my parents were born with a cardinal as well, but it was a Capricorn. They were born in 51 and 52 and 53. So
Chiron and Cap?
Yeah, Chiron and Cap is my parents, and I have Jupiter in Cap. So it's my job to explode that and bring it forward. Chiron's energy with one of the events that it's hard for me to talk about it, and I'm sure I don't want to trigger anybody or upset anybody. But
trigger everybody.
If we don't bring it up, then it's going to be at default to me. This new moon that's coming up, not this one, but the one in 2024, it's going to be reflective of when Chiron was, well, actually, even this new moon potentially, because at 29 degrees is when we're having this, right? And at 29 degrees Pisces, during a new moon is when Martin Luther King was shot in 1968. So another collision of a historic time that shifted everybody's perspective and everybody's priorities and everybody's awareness. And we're very much, that was Chiron entering Aries back then. Now, Aries also had Saturn in it, which it won't this time. These two are much more separate now because Saturn's in Pisces. So they're reversed, okay, from what they were the last time these two came around in a new moon. But it's still affecting the same thing. We're still getting these archetypes of people who are meant to be humanitarians, and at this, like, a humanitarian is divisional. They come in like an Aryan and break the crowd apart and split it and polarize it so that we can see what is, positive and what is negative and what needs to go and what isn't. Before Martin Luther King existed, we had a very different world. And during his life and after his assassination it was three different parts of a very different society, especially in North America. And I believe we're going to be seeing a lot of that again. We're going to be seeing these archetypical figures be sacrificed in certain ways, especially because we're dealing with the 29th degree of Pluto here. We're dealing with entering of a new Pluto phase with Pluto moving into Aquarius. We have Saturn moving through Pisces. Like, there is a sacrificial energy that cannot be like we can't just disregard it. Like, yes, this is a big thing on the internal level and the personal level of the twin flame journey and the lover's journey and our own personal healing journey. But society wise, we're about to see some really big historical headlines that are meant to make names, infamous names and famous names historically bombard the timelines and change the way that we all remember this time.
That you just led us into, like, let's get into the charts. Let's show people. Does this link to your sidereal chart you wanted to share?
Yeah, so this is right now. And this is one of the things that I want to talk about. So I'm going to pull up my notes here. One of the things that I want to talk about.
Should I pull a sidereal chart? Should I pull it?
Yeah, go right ahead. So tropical Aries it falls into three different nakshatras, which are lunar mansions in sidereal astrology. Now, I always incorporate both. I feel like both are important. I'm not talking about rulership here. I'm talking generally like the theme of the frequency. The three are, and I'm going to try not to slaughter the names because I'm not a Hindu, but Uttara Bhadrapada, and it speaks of Saturn ruled male energy. It is the caste or the ruling ship of a warrior who is also a philosopher and spirituality. That is where you see where it says the moon and Venus are in that chart, and Jupiter is. That's where we are right now. This is our chart right now. And so that's speaking to the fact that we're talking about this warrior energy where it says why there. Yep. So that is Uttara. I'm sorry, I'm slaughtering this.
Forget the name. Forget the name for now. Give us the why. Give us the why so we can understand.
What we're seeing right now is that the sidereal astrology and the tropical astrology overlap. We are in the constellation of Pisces. When we're talking about tropical Aries, it's actually the constellation of Pisces. We're not talking about precession of equinoxes and the view from Earth. We're talking about the astronomy here. And that's what Hindu astrology is all based on. It's all based on astronomy. So this part and this very beginning of Aries where the moon is right now and Venus is right now is in the tail end of the fishes. It's actually like, if there is a constellation of Pisces, you'll see it's kind of like a triangle with two circles on the end. And those are the nets of the fish. Okay. So like in the Greek mythology, we would say that Venus had her ankle in, or Aphrodite had her ankle in one of those holes, and Cupid had his ankle in the other one during the Great Flood. And that's how they tied themselves together so that they didn't get lost. And that's what we call tropical Aries right now. Because of the precession of the equinoxes, we do have a fiery Martian energy. The Hindu astrology is just referred to it as a warrior energy. It was ruled by Sun, Saturn, Mercury, Mars, and Venus. So like depending on what day of that, each one of those degrees has a different rulership.
So if we break that into English, how does this affect the people?
So we've got, it's the spiritual warrior inside of you. The first part of Aries is spiritual warrior. It's the warrior of, I fight for my family. I fight for my morals. I fight because God told me to in my head, which again, depending on who you ask, that sounds like a very Piscean thing to say, I heard a voice in my head that told me to go fight, but actually that's Aries energy, right? When we move into the later degrees, Ashwini is Aries energy in the later degrees. So like 25 to 29 degrees Aries is both Aries tropical and sidereal. Okay. And at that point, you're actually talking about what's called the horse head. And that's that animal warrior energy at the end of Aries. And we a lot of the time attribute that to like that bull-headed Taurus energy. It's actually in Hindi astrology, they refer to it as the Taurus or the Ashwini energy, which is two horses. So it's the beginning of a chariot, like the very beginning of a chariot. There's these two horses that propel everything forward. And that's that true Aries energy. So for me, I always see the first part of Aries, the first 2 decans of Aries, as a much more spiritually evolved person who's propelled by the spirit and source inside of them, and not so much their surroundings, not so much they're triggered by their society. When you get to the last degrees of Aries and the very last decan of Aries, between like 20 and 30, that's when you've got that pure warrior animal. We're not using our spirit source anymore. We are just body movement, breaking through, unapologetically showing up. So that's, to me, it's like the evolution of the warrior, when we see how tropical and sidereal overlaps each other. And when you look at the people born with early, the first 2 decans of Aries, so the 0 to 10, 10 to 20, those people have a much more open heart and mind, where the last degrees of Aries, these people are already set. They are super cardinal. They don't have, it's almost a fixed energy in the way that they're so absolutely sure about what they're doing. There's no talking to them. You just need to get out of the way and let them do their thing.
I was thinking of
I can honest to God attest, but go ahead.
I was thinking, I love how you were like speaking on like how you're coming from Pisces to Aries, and then like the end of Aries. And I was thinking of like at the beginning of Aries, how it's like a bright flame. It's like an ember, like forming into something. Also like a pimple popping up. Like at the start, where I was thinking, oh, like she's describing like a pimple popping up. Like at the start of Aries, it's like, oh, out of nowhere, right? It's new. You're how do I deal with this? And then how you're speaking about like the end, the last decade of Aries, I was getting a visual of like a burnout, like not so much like a flame, but like the remains of something that was on fire. You know, like the smoke and the smell of that, and then like you go into Taurus, and it's like, okay, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with like a forest that just was engulfed in flames, right? But it's like the two sides of it. It's like you have the fire and the flame, but it can't last forever. It's got to go out. And I think like the last decade, and again, I could be wrong. I'm not like big on decans. I'm not like a buff on it, but like Aries is it's a short but very, very powerful burst of energy. And it's like the two spectrums of Libra, kind of how it's unbalanced. Like it's not like Taurus where it's like this. It's not fixed. It doesn't just keep going. Aries is kind of like it hits its peak. That's why it's exalted. It's peak energy, and then it crashes down. So you know.
Yo, I really want to add in a little flavor on that. I think it goes back to what Bree has said. I feel like it matters on the beginning or the end of the decans. And the reason I say that is like, right, so I'm a third decan Aries, right? 28-degree moon, 24 in the sun, 24 in Mercury. And so the majority of my life, basically after 6 years, I was Taurus. Literally 6 years later from my 24-degree sun, I was a Taurus.
Yeah.
And so she kind of hit it with being fixed. I kind of already like came into the world like I was like, this is who I am, period. Like there wasn't, and I didn't know that about myself in the beginning. If I'm being honest, I had no idea. It took me time to really kind of catch up with, oh shit, I'm a progressed Taurus. Like I had no idea. I did not know when I was born, right? But the reason I say that is like, when you look at the exaltation of the sun goes up and it comes down, right? But it never changes temperature. It doesn't, the sun itself doesn't change. It's sustainable. It almost just has duties at other parts of the world. Where it's like, look, I can't just radiate my light on North America. I need to worry about India. I got to make my rounds to Indonesia. I got to make my rounds to Germany. And then I'm going to come back to the US. And then I got to, so the reason I say it is like, especially when I think about that ending, it's the kind of thing where it's like, I feel like the fire of Aries, it sustains. And this is what I feel like Neptune in Aries will start to help us with, to like remove whatever fog around what an Aries really is.
Yeah.
I think it takes though 2 more years for us to kind of really catch up. But if I just speak about from a personal standpoint, like what it feels like within me, it's kind of like cardinal fire, powerful in one burst, yes, but it doesn't really stop. It's cardinal for a reason. It keeps bursting.
Yeah.
And as I keep aging, just me being Aries myself, as I keep aging, I'm just learning how not to burst preemptively. You know what I mean? I'm starting to really look at it and starting to burst within a certain pattern.
You're incorporating the Capricorn access.
Incorporating the Capricorn, right? Because even if you look at human design, most Aries, I'm talking like 95% are Capricorn unconscious suns. So again, what does it take with a Capricorn sun? A Capricorn sun, you wouldn't, if you thought of an Aries sun with an unconscious Capricorn sun, I have an unconscious Capricorn sun, and I have it in a degree of Taurus. So what I'm saying is like, it takes certain trials and errors, because you actually, Ry, you talked about this when your Taurus post about Taurus, we learn our worth because we had to go through some shit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like we had to go through something, and it's like going through blah, 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 our self-worth, our self-esteem, it became that much more solid. So even my Capricorn sun itself, I'm a Taurus rising, I'm a Taurus progressed sun. My unconscious sun in Capricorn, I use in the Taurus degree of I have, right? As time keep progressing, I'm learning how to use my own energy.
Yeah.
In a sustainable fashion, something that, again, like I said,
I
had to start delegating. That's one of them. Like when I learned how to sustain myself, I had to use, okay, well, what extra energy, how can I use energy wisely to delegate? How can I use my energy? It literally, for me, is coming back to energy. And that's how this cardinal fire. So again, you know, when we look at Aries at in its youth, I think that that's just extremely difficult. And I feel like I have myself come across a lot of young Aries where I get confused because I'm like, I don't resonate with a lot of the descriptions.
Yeah.
I just don't. But I can also understand that there's levels to this. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like when Neptune in Aries comes, we're all.
Oh no.
Neptune's like, no, we're not talking about
energy.
It's like, yeah, right when he was like the juicy bits.
Yeah, please do. Hit me with it.
Oh no. We're like you cut out a little bit, and you're like right there, like you're peaking, like you're in Aries mode, and then the stream was like, nope.
There are no accidents. Spirit makes no mistakes.
It's funny because oh man, I could see my Wi-Fi is going like, it's energy. This is kind of what I meant. Exactly what I meant. Like, this is like life spirit. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like life spirit telling me, pull it back.
Yep.
Pull it back. Get back into the show. Pull it back. Because this is kind of what I meant with like, oh shit, am I still going in and out?
A little bit.
Yeah, you know what? I think it's got to do something with a transit, to be honest, because I was doing a live on Capricorn yesterday with a friend, and she's in Australia, and she was having the same issue. She was like, oh, I have to drive to a coffee shop, and she was like, I can't do it at home. So it might be some type of deal going on. I don't know what it is.
Mercury is ending a transit in the moon's nakshatra, so it's ending a phase and it's closing up things, and it wants things tightly closed. So, and it's a Saturn ruled energy, so it's like close it.
That's right.
Saturn's coming in and like he's like taking notes. He's like, no, you slow down. Everybody slow down. With this Mars energy coming through, one of the things that I noticed is that, like, obviously it's super important whenever we're having a new moon, especially if there's an eclipse involved, to look at the rulership. The traditional tropical rulership is Mars, right? So Mars, having finished up this retrograde, going through about, what was it, like 8 months? It was like six months.
7 months, yeah.
And it was in tropical air energy, which exasperates fire, But when we're in this, I was looking at the new moon energy for the solar eclipse. Mars, I believe, is going to be in. He's moving.
Going to be in Cancer yet, or still in Gemini?
Yeah, he's at 13 degrees Cancer, so like right in the center of Cancer. So like hot water.
Yes, yes.
And that's like steam, right? So I feel like that's even more of the passionate, romantic energy that we're going to get hit with during the solar eclipse. What do you think?
I'm thinking a lot of projection, unfortunately. I mean, I'll give it to a positive spin on it as well, because I don't want to just, but I mean, it's natural square. You know, I always think of like your independence, Aries, and then your conditioned self, Cancer, and that goes with the family, but it's like, it's a root. The Cancer, it's literally a root. And then Aries is like what's on the surface, more or less, right? It's like what merged from that root.
Yeah.
And I guess it's going to be, I can see, and this may resonate with a lot of people, that maybe someone trying to tie you down, or maybe you're trying to anchor yourself, or someone's trying to anchor you, and you're like, no, I need my independence still. You know what I mean? What's great about this, it goes along with what I said earlier with, was it the Venus? It goes along with the theme of I'm not ready yet.
Right.
Right. And Aries is like, oh, let's do it now. And then, but we have this other energy of Chiron, Mars in Cancer, the slowing down that martial energy.
Right.
So I don't think it's going to be impossible for anything to just be like, let's go this direction, and there's not going to be any roadblocks. There's going to be blocks. And
I feel like the communication is going to be blessed. Venus will be in the degrees where Mars was retrograding during the eclipse.
Okay.
So I feel like we're.
Do you need me to pull a chart?
Anybody who is using the Mars retrograde, like actively paying attention to their triggers in that house and figuring out what Gemini is supposed to mean for them, if they're able to, they can apply those lessons as like a beta test with this eclipse. Like, okay, I know I need boundaries in my relationship, and I know there's certain things that I desire. Like personally, I realize that I need to live alone. Like I have a Sagittarius rising and Aquarius Venus. I should have figured that out a long time ago, but I need to have my own bedroom. Like it's yeah, I know it's really obvious. Okay. But I've been married twice. So like over the Mars retrograde, I realized that, and now I'm in a relationship, and being able to speak on that is something that before this Mars retrograde, I was always afraid would have me rejected from monogamous relationships, because how could you dare want to not have a shared bedroom? But actually, it's not that crazy of an obligation to ask of someone, especially if you're very comfortable being alone at that point. Like, and that's another thing, right? Like, I believe that this Mars retrograde in Gemini taught a lot of people, especially Sagittarius energy, because it was in our 7th house, how to partner different, and how to apply ourselves with our own communication of what we believe about ourselves and about our ability to partner.
I'm very tempted to not go into a side tangent about your Venus and Aquarius. I'm like, oh, that could be a whole nother. I was gonna ask, because I can't tell, but I'm sure there's gonna be that Mars in Cancer squaring.
It is. It squares Chiron.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
Everything else has moved past it, because the Sun and Moon are at 29, Jupiter will be at 23, but Chiron's at 16, exactly opposite my Moon.
That sounds like.
You guys pray for me, please. And Mars will be at 13 Cancer.
Well, you should have at least 1 or 2 trines, right? Are you a Pisces Sun as well?
I am a Pisces Sun at 0 degrees.
Oh, okay, never mind. that time has come and gone. I'm a Pisces too, so.
I've been surrounded by Pisces.
Yeah, your woman's a Pisces.
So here, she is a Pisces.
Oh, this is a chart.
So,
okay.
So this is the eclipse, right? You see the 29 here.
Yep.
Sun and Moon, 29 degrees. I'm off by a minute, 49 and 50 minutes, whatever. This is the Mars in Cancer coming back. You don't see it here, but it's already 3-degree orb, right? That square is going to happen with Aries. I heard y'all talking about Chiron and Aries at 16. Mm-hmm. Now, that square will happen at 16 degrees and Cancer exact. I'm guessing Chiron's not going to move, and that's the degree of Cancer itself. What do we feel is going to happen around this eclipse when you have this? And did I miss that potentially with this between this Cancer and Mars?
We talked a little bit on it, but not entirely.
I feel like this matters a lot, right? There's a very specific squaring relationship that Aries and Cancer has.
Yeah, Ray was talking about the projection of how like Cancer is like the root and Aries is like the shield.
Mm.
There's a this is like bullseye on my moon. Brutal. Okay. What I noticed is that Venus is going to be where Mars was during its retrograde. So we might be blessed if we had paid attention to that lesson of Mars retrograde over the fall and winter to be able to utilize our new communication and understanding what we learned about our triggers, our mental triggers, because that's Mars and Gemini, right? Mental triggers.
But also like, how do we deal with the monkey mind, right? How do we deal with when intelligence is trying to overrule love itself as a frequency? And I feel like that's going to be those squares with Pisces. We're going to face that before the eclipse, right? Like Mars is still in Gemini, and we're going to have square with a lot of Piscean energy. And it's going to kind of be like this balance between love and logic, like objective information. And what did we learn in the retrograde about how do we deal with our irrational thoughts? Like that's kind of part of what I feel like. The thoughts that are matter rational, like when we just have that monkey mind and we're going through all of these possibilities and just, testing and challenging logic with other people versus certain frequencies in Pisces that just says, well, yes, or well, love, because Pisces is not going to be as, it's not as cutting. It doesn't like to cut. It's not even in Mars. Mars is the one that cuts. So it's like we're cutting with our logic, right? But Pisces is rocking Gemini. Gemini has, in my personal opinion, the sky, Gemini does not stand a chance against the overwhelming amount of Pisces in the sky.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's so many, there's Pisces sun there, right? You're going to have Saturn, not yet. I don't think not yet, but eventually Saturn will be there. I think Mars is out of shadow soon. I mean, yeah, Mars is out of shadow. I don't know when in Mars and Gemini.
I think is it not already passed?
I think the shadow was going to go for about 2 more months after. I think till March. So it's going to be leaving soon. I don't know what day of March, but Mars is only going to, and that means it's also at the end of its shadow, right? So it's like we already kind of, that whole retrograde was so important because, what I learned, one of the biggest thing is it was teaching us how do we cut with words? How do we cut our peers down? Literally, both of you right now are social peers, are people we're learning with, people we're studying with, people we're teaching with, right? People we're just engaging in a simple conversation. Don't even got to be deep, but it could be. There's a polarity to Gemini. It could be. It is 8th house to Scorpio for a reason. It could be a deep combo. I have a Gemini 8th house, for example, and it's like, how do we deal with when our mind is very irritable? Right? When we want to know something, but it ain't time yet. There's not divine timing of Pisces says, you got to just flow, bro. You got to chill.
My partner he's Gemini, Jupiter conjunct Sun. And he and we're working through stuff all the time because both of us are super self-aware, which is the only kind of relationship I can have. He said to me something that, he goes back to that I said to him a couple weeks ago, which is unless I say the words, do not fill in the blanks. Stay with what I actually said. Don't overanalyze what I said and assume it's going to be like something you've seen in the past. Go with what I said. And if I didn't actually say it, just drop it. Just let it go. Because that's the Gemini energy is like, again, like Gemini has Cancer in the 2nd house. So like in the value system, second nature is to be worried about security, is to be concerned about security, is to be expecting things to change constantly. That's the second house. That's their second nature for a Gemini energy. So Mars going through Gemini, he experienced that on a really heavy level, and he's still experiencing it, but that's what he learned. That was one of his biggest lessons was, unless I hear it from the person, I don't need to assume anything. Just because I have an inclination or I've seen a pattern doesn't mean that I'm right, and I can clarify.
Well, that's a lot of Gemini energy, right? It's like, it's just about challenging logic, but it's not about proving a point.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I think this is where we as a whole society, we learned back when the North Node was in Gemini, South Node, guru mentality was like, we're letting it go. Like, we're letting go having to be right.
Exactly.
You know, like to have a conversation, to be able to, you know, discuss things that from a neutral standpoint.
Yeah.
And this is where Mercury kind of comes in as the ruler of Gemini, right? It's neutral. The planet Mercury is neutral.
Yeah.
And I've been really kind of playing with these thoughts lately around, well, if Mercury is neutral, is Gemini really the trickster that we like to claim it is? Or is it Sagittarius and Pisces? Because like when I look at it, it's like the ruler, Jupiter, is ruled by Sagittarius and Pisces. And it's like Jupiter is the one that can be boastful. You know what I mean? Jupiter's, right? But like, think about it, right? Jupiter is the one that can have his head all the way in the clouds. Jupiter is the one that can make an illusion around just over and hyperinflating anything, right? Any element of anything it touches. But at the end of the day, Virgo, Gemini, they're neutral.
Well, the funny thing is, like, I always like to come back to mythology, right? Hermes is the son of Zeus. Zeus is Jupiter. Mercury is Hermes. Mercury, is it neutral because it learned all his tricks from his daddy, Jupiter? And I always think of Gemini and Sagittarius, they're on the same axis.
Yep.
Right? It's kind of, I learned this from Mark Jones because I never thought about it this way until he said this. It's about truth and lie. And that blurriness in between what is truth and what is lie. And you see it all the time. You mentioned guru, right? Like guru is 100% Sagittarius. It's like, this is this idea and you should definitely believe it because it's so good. And then Mercury, Gemini, it processes in the mind, oh, that makes sense. But it blurs with the ideology. Right, that's why people follow. People follow an ideology because it makes sense to some sense of higher mind with it. Say it loud and proud.
Sorry, that's my partner.
What's up, Brad? How you doing, man? So you know, I'm watching. You might like this. I don't know if I love anime. I'm an anime guy. I love anime. And on Netflix right now, there's this season 2 just came out of the Record of Ragnarok. I'll leave that out there for anybody that enjoys it. It's a fusion of gods, all gods from Indian culture, mythology culture. So you got Shiva in there. You're gonna have Zeus. You have Hermes, and then it's like God versus man. And so they're pulling all these heroes from the humanity. And basically the gods are like, humans suck. They keep destroying the earth. Let's just wipe them out. And they were gonna do it. They were just like, not even give the humans a choice. And then somebody came and stepped in and was like, well, why don't y'all do this Ragnarok, where it's like this code that says God can fight man. And so there's this whole, you got like Adam from Adam and Eve, from the first man, is now fighting Zeus in one of the episodes, right? You got Jack the Ripper, right? You got Jack the Ripper, who never got caught in London, and he's now fighting, who the hell was Jack the Ripper fighting? He fought Hercules. So Hercules being this super high moral character who just won't do wrong, and Jack the Ripper who's like, I don't care, I'll lie, I'll do this, I'll cheat, I'll do whatever it takes, right? I am who I am. So my point is, in this show, I'm watching the mythologies of all of it, and it's highly accurate. And what I wanted to say in the moment is like, why does Sagittarius fall or hit detriment in Mercury? Because you're right? Hermes is the son of Jupiter. Yeah. Right. But even if I look at this show, Hermes just watches everything. Yeah. He makes his comments. Yeah. He says things that are just true in the moment, but he never chooses a side.
Yeah.
He never said this is better, this is worse. And it's just one of those things I'm wondering, when I look at it, it's like, well, why does Jupiter or Zeus, Sagittarius, why does it fall with Pisces or detriment, whatever you want to call it, and Mercury? And it just had me really, really looking and thinking about it. It's like, it's what I was saying before, like Gemini, in my personal opinion, it does not care about the outcome.
Yeah.
Because even when you're looking at Hermes in the show, for example, like sometimes the gods are losing and Hermes just making objective analysis about, well, this god used too much of his power at the wrong moments.
Yeah.
He's not even rooting for the human or the god.
Pretty
He's
much
just
like the like in court, there's always that one person who's writing up what's going on. You know what I mean? That's Hermes, right? It's not they're completely not invested in who's winning or whatever, but they're there to take down the facts so that people know what's going on and what happened. Jupiter is very much like on this, has picked a side. This is my theory. This is everybody should be following this theory. And that goes for Pisces too. I can attest to the fact that we live in our own delusional world, but we inspire everybody else to believe in themselves too. So if we just lead their way that way, there's a reason they call Jesus a fish. Okay.
So what if we pull it back to the North Node? Because I feel like we didn't talk much North Node. And I feel like it matters. So, because the reason, just to help, I should have said this earlier. One of the reasons I feel like this message was important, like in my own dream state, these came as, you must inform the people of the storm that is coming. That was essentially the simplicity of why I had to put this message out. And I wanted to bring in other astrologers to open the minds of everybody from different perspectives. So if we switch gears, okay, the solar eclipse is going to happen. I think you said what day, Ry?
The 19th of April.
Thank you. So April 19th, 29 degrees, climatic, right? Historic. Bree mentioned some major things that always happen. Titanic sunk. I think the Germans massacred some Nibians in Africa.
1,000 of them. Like
80,000 Nibian Africans.
20 years ago.
Right? I don't know. You want to list a couple of the things that happened on these eclipse events? Some drastic things?
Hey, Tom, Bree?
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah, She I can see it in her eye. She got the research eye. She's pulling. Her Aquarius is like, I'm sifting.
It's what I do. Okay, so there's the energies that are coming towards us with the nodes changing signs. We'll have the node moving at like 0 degrees Taurus, and then it'll dip into 29 degrees Aries. So the last time that'll happen, we have an energy of the last degrees of Taurus node before it dips into Aries is in July. And after July, then we move into an activation season. And so Libra season this year, on the 18th of July this year, we move it to 29 degrees Aries. The North Node moves to 29 degrees Aries and 29 degrees Libra. The full moon is in September, this coming September of this year. And that's a full moon activation of the nodes. And then the following April, next April, not this one, but the one after, is when we have a full ass activation. Mars is in Cancer. Venus will be in Aries. Mercury will be in Aries. The sun, moon, and Cancer will be Mars energy. And again, we spoke about Cancer Mars being extremely deadly. Like, it is one of the scarier places for Mars to be. Like, I get that it's at detriment, it's not in a happy place, but that makes it even more dangerous. Okay, so
in what way?
It's honestly, like, if you look at serial killers, tropical Cancer is one of the more deadly of all of the serial killers, because they are so passionate and so emotionally invested in their
crimes of passion
experiences, and it's a crime of passion almost every time. As a Pisces,
I got Mars in Cancer.
So does my partner.
I once agree, can attest. Like,
I have it in Scorpio, and people are like, "Oh my God, that's so dangerous." I'm like, I've dated Mars and Cancer. Trust me, I've got nothing on them, because you guys it's all the way invested. When you have hate for something, it is every piece of water in your body that hates that person. It is a different level. It is a completely different level. So yeah, the activations that'll happen.
Wait, do we all have Mars and water?
Mars and water is a whole.
You have Mars and water too?
Scorpio.
I'm Mars and Cancer.
Mars and Scorpio?
Yeah.
Mars and Pisces. That's awesome.
The trifecta. The trifecta.
We have like a Mars Grand Trine going on over here.
Oh my god, I love it so much. And we're talking about Aries energy.
I was like, I shouldn't even say that. They're gonna jump on my Mars and Pisces.
I love Mars and Pisces. I really do.
Oh, this makes my heart warm. Oh. We're deadly. Okay. Okay, so like I said, the upcoming transit that we have is where the North Node is at 4 degrees. That's the eclipse energy. Chiron will be at 16. Jupiter will be at 23. Sun will be at 28. Moon will be at 6. That's 18th of April of this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then it moves in July on the 18th. The node will move into Aries and Libra. And we will sit in like an in-between space before it fully activates by the full moon. Because
it's April 18th. April 18th, the node moves into Aries.
Is the last. It's the eclipse, but technically the node is at 4 degrees Taurus tropically.
Mm.
And it's not until July that we end up with actual nodal shifts in frequency. It moves into fire and air.
That's perfect. It's 4th of July season, fireworks. So like literally it's ushering in of that fire energy. It's you know, it's like the 4th of July is like celebrating literally a new tradition, like a new country being born. And it's like it's in Aries, right? You can't get more perfect than that. Like I know it's not on the 4th, I'm sure, but
no, it's on the 18th. It's a couple weeks later, but
right around that.
Yeah.
It's like you're right in the smack of summertime. It's like it's going to be hot. You know, it's like we're probably gonna have like 110 degree weather.
I have a feeling, and this is just maybe it's just my Mars and Scorpio projecting. I don't know, but I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of people having sex outside this summertime because of this energy. Like there's people that are just going to be like passionate and open about their love everywhere. There's going to be so many PDAs. It's going to be a summer of love. I honestly believe that. Like with these nodes shifting signs.
Wow.
And then by Libra season on the 29th is when we get our activation. That is a full ass. Now it's a full moon. The node will be at 25 degrees. The sun and moon will activate at 5 degrees of Aries. Mars will also be in Libra.
Wow.
Yeah. And the North Node, like I said, the North Node and the South Node will be at 25. Chiron will be at 18. And during the actual new moon, like when the sun and the moon are at 5, the vertex will be at 0 Aries.
Wow.
It's like a big day. And I'm not sure what's
coming, so I love the info, but let's take what you just said now and put it back in English so that everyone else listening, because I know we have to like take the moment to calculate. Some people in here like they're calculating like, what the hell does that actually mean? Like just to keep making sure we help others understand that are not astrologers trying to learn and get their heads up. What does that mean? Right? So if we take the September 29th, for example, we're in Libra season, we got Mars in Libra. What makes that time frame so big, and how do we prepare for it? Like, what do we need to know to stay ahead of the game and prepare preemptive?
So the South Node in Libra means that people will be naturally linking up. They'll be naturally compromising. It'll be a second nature for people to just lean into compromising. But Mars is going to be with the South Node, which means that, and Mars is at detriment in Libra. It's not happy there. This is the opposite of where it wants to be. And you end up with a lot of legal battles. I believe that there's going to be a lot of people either issuing court papers or taking people to court or finally charging people. There's going to be a lot of gavelant like energy of this is what's happening and we are making new rules and this is the new boundary. It's also likely, because Chiron's involved, to be activating people on a shame level. There's going to be like a media frenzy about like, you should feel bad. You should, because whenever you've got a nodal axis and a new moon happening, especially when there's generational planets involved and the ruler of the new moon is at detriment, you're going to have that energy easily used against people. Yeah. It's going to create I don't want to say negative frequency, but it's going to create an opportunity for people to utilize it in a not positive way, in a way that's sacrificial and underhanded and disrespectful and dishonest.
Where do we know where Venus will be at? Did you say?
I didn't mark that down, but I can look it up.
Okay. I was thinking of the Pluto and Libra generation, how that's going to be an explode. Like we're talking about Aries, like that's a different like feel.
Xers, yeah.
Like I'm just thinking, I'm like trying to like, how's that going to work out for them? Because they're going to feel that more than anybody. Like if you got
absolutely.
If you have like Uranus and Libra, you know, so.
Well, you know, one of the things that I feel like might happen around that Pluto and Libra when all this energy is coming up is, you know, Pluto and Libra generation, they kind of took a backseat in a sense to the drama that Pluto and Scorpio was willing to expose, right? So you look prior, you had Pluto and Virgo prior, and they were really humble coming from the Leo generation, where a bunch of party, a bunch of drugs, and a bunch of just like overinflated egos, quite frank. And then you got these are the Donald Trumps in their own way. No disrespect to them, right? And then you got the Virgo humbling of like, okay, let's kind of get rid of some of this influence that is just, some of it is unnecessary.
Yeah.
Just objectively speaking. But then now you had Libra come in where it was like, they already passed that and they're now filtering karma, right? Like Libra, one of its abilities that it does, I don't know if this is talked about much, but it's like it filters out karma. It's the kidneys. It filters water. It filters, toxins in the blood, toxins and filtrating through the water. So water is what stores our memory, our karmic memories, water. So when we piss out, we release certain karmas.
Yeah,
so
the sixth house Pisces, right?
Boom. So now you look at that, it's like, okay, I feel like this is where was it a full moon in Libra around this time?
So this is a full moon activation that I'm speaking of. Yeah.
Thank you.
So Venus.
So now we're releasing that.
Yeah.
That's what's happening.
Venus will be post retrograde in Leo, conjunct Black Moon Lilith.
Wow.
So I mean, it's literally just, it's that storyline, right? Yeah. It's that storyline of like me now. Let's say I'm a Pluto and Libra. I now can understand my role a little bit more effectively when it comes to the filtration of the nonsense. Yet these shaming narratives that used to be used on me in my generation growing up, I used to get shamed into marrying somebody I didn't want to for whatever reason, whatever traditional reason. I got shamed into choosing myself. Okay, that's not going to work with all this Aries energy. And that once that eclipse hit in April, it's like that doesn't work anymore. So they're, in a sense, they're being forced to face certain conflicts that the ways they used to avoid the conflict prior or work around it or strategically find a way to just disappear, because this is what Libra does. When conflict gets too tough, they just disappear. They just kind of fall off the map. They just say, look, and I could say this from so many Libras that I've met, they just say, look, I'm not going to address it. Instead, I'm going to just disappear. If I stay quiet long enough, they'll forget about me. And what I feel like is going to happen is they're going to be forced to cut through this because they have a role in the processing of karma. They really, really do. They have a role in acting in the now, being present in the now. And that's what Aries requires from them. But walking away or saying I'll deal with this later is not really much of the now. And the problem with that is they forsake their intuition. They forsake their instinctual nature that they are inherently born with. But it's like now they get caught in the thinking traps, right? They get analysis paralysis. So I feel like what's happening is that generation won't be allowed to choose analysis paralysis anymore, because they're going to be forced to act more momentarily in the present. And that is going to ultimately help us to filtrate through collectively a karma that is, they knew about it a long time ago. They chose to say, we'll deal with this a different way at a different time, but that different time is now.
Yeah.
Me, you. It's me. Okay.
Man, this a passion talk. If you feel it, shoot it.
Yeah. there's a like so with this Aries Libra, especially Libra South Node. I always think of Libra. It's just so easy to be Libra. You know what I mean? Like if you got Libra placements, what are you talking about? So, like Libra, it's what I mean by that. It's very the default nature of Libra. The default nature of Libra is to fall back on what's peaceful, what's more like we don't want to cause a ruckus.
What's
Like,
polite?
yeah, like I feel right now is the most powerful time to take advantage of because we got all this potent energy, right? But if for whoever that ends up like just coasting and resting right now, you're gonna feel that whiplash when we do have that full moon in Libra, right? So, or is it? I'm sorry, is it full moon in Libra or like,
the activation? Yeah, it's a full moon.
Okay, cool. So right now it's like, all right, do the work, start new things, new relationships, a new identity.
Yeah.
Because either way, you're gonna during that full moon, it's like, oh God, like with that South Node in Libra, I want to fall back into what's familiar and what's safe. But if you do all that work right now, and you you get into the energy right now, it's gonna be so much more easier. I feel like during Libra season.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you hang on to all the old, it's Pisces season right now.
Mm-hmm.
If you hang on to what we should be releasing, Pisces is all about releasing so that we can go into Aries. But if you hang on to what wasn't working in 2022, and you're like, I'm gonna hold on to that even though it's 2023, it's gonna be a shitstorm.
Yeah.
Now we're trying to release, go into a new territory, and then we can reap the rewards in Libra season.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So that's what I'm thinking about right now. If not, it's just going to be hell for whoever, all of us that's like trying to hang on to stuff, then it's just going to blow up in our faces.
Yeah, there's one of the eclipses that could be coming in the next couple years would be reflective of the eclipse we saw with the original stock market crash. So those that are holding on to this Bitcoin thing, I'm sorry. Like you need to let that S go. Like let it go. It's not going to formulate. It's not, if it hasn't at this point, after we've seen Scorpio and Taurus nodes and Pluto shifting signs, it's not coming. Like we're not getting another stock market, another version of the stock market. There's something new and we need to make room and let go of things that don't fit anymore so that we can make room for things that come in, things that we can't imagine. And that's one of the things that I'm very lucky that I get from my spiritual teachings is that trusting that I'm not supposed to know. I couldn't possibly imagine what's coming because it hasn't come yet. And if I try to analyze and psychoanalyze and predict what's coming based on just on what we've seen, then I'm literally blacking out a whole bunch of opportunity and space where there could be new things manifested, things that are unseen, things that are unpredictable, things that are brand new.
Mm-hmm.
You just said it on the nose. So in financial astrology, right, there's the same wheel that we all see. Once you hit Virgo, like the regular wheel, and it goes down, it gets dark. So I believe right now we're in about Aquarius. We have the Aquarius, we have the Pisces energy. Who comes before? We have the Capricorn energy closing out. All that. That's why the stock, in a sense, it's hitting its dip.
Yeah.
Globally, and that's going to take years, right?
Yes.
It's going to take years for those Saturn and Pluto. I'm thinking Pluto more, you know, when you consider scorpionic influence around finances and AKA loss, right? So it's like that all is dipping. So Bree was right on point where it's going to change entirely. Especially by 2027 when you put Uranus in Gemini, right? It's like we're now taking our entire thinking and the technologies we use around how will we socially and economically relate and exchange the ideas around future technologies. And you know, you're talking whatever, chips in the arm, right? You're not going to be able to walk into a store if you don't have a certain status, social economic status. They're going to be like, deny him at the door. And it's like, wait, what? It's like, bro, you don't even have enough money to be in this store. So if you broke something, you couldn't even pay for it, right? And so that's the kind of stuff I kind of see in some instances coming. And this matters because we are in this North Node Aries. So we're all taking a new entrepreneurial front, a new entrepreneurial step into, and this is kind of what I thought earlier, but I'm gonna bring it back. We're all taking a brand new direction as for what about me can I contribute to the faith of humanity moving forward, the fate of humanity moving forward. How can I align my Jupiter and Arian ideals and beliefs, right? How can I take a new set on my belief systems around, right? And you talk any angular sign, we're talking different from family dynamics. All the angulars are relationship type angles, right? So it's like different from my family's heritage, brand new, something brand new from what my family did. So if my family invested in stocks, okay, well, what am I going to start shaping my way? If my family invested into a 9-to-5, okay, what am I going to do? What entrepreneurial efforts will I take? And I feel like Ry said it a little earlier where Aries has that burst of energy. And we're just hitting Venus in Aries. We have Jupiter in Aries now. North Node will be there very soon. The eclipse is going to be the one that's going to propel all of us so forward so fast that we're going to try to halt, but we're not really going to be able to until Taurus comes into the sky and starts slowing us down gradually and allowing us to stop skipping. So especially from a human design, my manifesting generators out there, be mindful how much you skip, how far you skip ahead, because you're going to have to go back and cover some of those pieces, right? My manifesting generators, they have that ability. They can generate energy and they can go so far ahead and they can multitask, but you're going to be forced to take 15. You take 20 steps forward, you're going to have to take 15 steps back. So however grand those steps are, do stay mindful of what that evolution of Arian energy can look like, which is the ability to pause and delegate and realize, look, do I need to spend energy here, or can I get some assistance? All right, and help them do these mediocre tasks that I do on a daily, so that I can focus on my energy and my attention on what is new, so that I can essentially, the best way I can explain this when you talk Aries, and I had to learn this for myself, it was really hard, it took a lot of time, is the more my real season of organization, it starts in the winter solstice. It starts when it's Capricorn energy, when I'm at the top of the mountain. And if I can plan while I'm sitting still at the top, not moving. So like, you know, Capricorn energy is cardinal, but it's like, it's a feminine at the same time. So it's about attraction. So me getting clear on what energy do I need to attract so that I can essentially move my resources strategically by the time Aries season comes. Well, spring equinox is here. Aries season is here. And so it's like, if you can understand that Aries has rocket power, the amount of force that could take a rocket from the ground into space in one go, and this is the key, in one go. If we can align where we decide to go from here, going into the full moon, aka September, if we can look at the trajectory, align our resources, align our energy, and say, look, anything that's not necessary for me to rocket myself this way, that's how I feel like we're going to be able to maximize this Arian start the best, so that when Taurus season comes around, we're not trying to make up for all these mistakes. We're just focusing on stabilizing at this point. We're just stabilizing and harnessing the fixed energy, right? We're taking that fixed energy and we're allowing it to loop so that it becomes its own system. It becomes it's a methodical process. If y'all can do that, I promise this is the kind of thing where you can skip ahead and you won't have to backtrack. You won't have to go back and spend the same amount of burst of energy to fix so many mistakes that we just didn't foresee.
Right.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. When you were saying that, I kept having the envisions of like actual power generators, and just watched Back to the Future with my partner. But the energy of being able to make energy sit in one space and bounce off itself is the same frequency of making money while you sleep. It's the same energy of, okay, if I do this, this, and this, then I can sit back and that will roll. I won't have to do anything. But it takes a lot of calculation. It takes taking the time to calculate, which is a perfect energy for Capricorn season, because you slow down and you have the ability to test things out in the dark when nobody else is paying attention. Now, granted, Capricorn season is all the way behind us now, and we've stepped into Pisces season. Pisces season is very much a trial error beta season, because this is the reason that Pisces is getting rid of stuff all the time, and it's the remover, is because you're testing things. It's Jupiter energy. We are literally letting the water go through the container to see if there's any holes, and then working through patching up those holes, or getting rid of the container altogether and figuring out another way to store this flow. But we are in it right now. That's what Pisces season is. And because Saturn is here, which is the ruler of Capricorn, this is a different kind of beta test. This is the kind of beta test where it's way serious. We're talking 30 years in the future. We are looking at, okay, well, how are we actually going to implement this dream, this manifestation, this hope, this wish that I don't want to work when I'm 30 years old. So I need to make a plan from now until then so that I don't have to do anything in 30 years. You know what I mean? That's what this energy is for right now. It's about solidifying the dream. And with all this Aries energy, there's so much room for expansion, and there's so much energy to test things out over and over again. And I think that's just going to be so fantastic. It's just, this season is going to be, like I said, there's just so much passion involved in this Aries season, and this summer and this fall, especially when we hit Libra season. It's just going to be a very romantic, fun, loving, happy, propelled energy for the most part. We're going to see a lot of chaos when it comes to social media. We're going to see a lot of chaos when it comes to politics. And there's going to be some headlines that are extremely disturbing, but there always is. And it's what we do with it, right?
Yeah. I like how you guys pulled in the Capricorn, how you have to start there. Like in the winter, it's like that's prep work. Nobody wants to do the prep work during the winter. People just want to sleep. People just want to watch Netflix all day and all night. You know what I mean? It's cold. Nobody wants to go outside. But it's like, yeah, it's like what you're saying, Pernell. Like when it's so quiet, that's when you're supposed to be doing all the work. Not in the summertime when chaos and you want to travel and do all these things. You flip it over to winter. That's when it's like, okay, Capricorn, sit your ass down. Like, plan out what you're going to do, because the start of the year literally is on the horizon. So
no, absolutely. This is how, in my personal opinion, and because this is the approach that I took. It's like, first I wanted to respect Brie on what she said, because Saturn in Pisces is saying plan 29 years in advance. Right? The Saturn cycle takes 29 years. I want to take some time between all three of us to address, well, Pisces is the last zodiac sign before we start a new cycle in Saturn. So what does that mean before we go Saturn in Aries? And what year do we go Saturn in Aries, so we can help people also project how will Saturn in Aries play out? Because Saturn in Aries, right, like this is entirely different than Saturn in Pisces. So I want to take some time between the three of us and discuss that. But before we do that, Ry, what you have said, for everybody listening, you might have missed this year, and that's fine. But for next year coming, understand that it starts to get dark right around Virgo season. This is when we go neutral, and then we dip. We start going down to hell in Libra season, but then we inhale.
It's so beautiful. All the pretty colors.
All the pretty colors. We start going down to hell in Libra season, but then we're in hell when Scorpio hits. Right, and everybody felt that when those eclipses.
It's also reflective of Venus being called Lucifer and falling in the sky in the fall.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? Right. So we hit hell in Scorpio season. We're living in hell in Scorpio season, and we all felt that during that eclipse time. You're living in hell. You just got to learn how to live with it. And then we start deciding to come up out of hell Sag season. So we have a vision. This is where you want to take that masculine projective vision.
Yeah.
But then you're going to hit this stale point again, right? Basically at the bottom of the barrel where Capricorn season hits. So take this year, 2023, and understand that rhythm, so that when you finally get to stay still, what you're doing in Cap season is whatever resources you have. You're not going to get more. Whatever money you have. Don't expect too much more. You might have a little surplus, but that's just that's Saturn just giving you your gains that you already earned earlier. right? You're not gaining it now. It was just already old. It was already due. And we have to kind of look at our karmic lessons from Saturn and say, okay, hey, look, what did you learn? I learned. Okay, great. Here's your resource that you already earned 5-6 months ago. Right. And this is when you want to take that plan, because that brings me really to what I was about to say about Aries season. When Aries season starts, this is why Aries has so much instinctual action, where there's not much thinking involved. You don't need to think, you just need to act. But you're not acting off of blindness. I think people get this confused with Aries, like, oh, it's just passion, we acting. No, stop believing in that. Yeah. Stop believing that Aries is this blind symbol that just acts off passion. It's simply not true. It is a masculine energy. It has a purpose and a direction. It is not Scorpio. It's not in this feminine frequency where it's going to move on its feelings. It's not moving simply off its feeling. It has a combination of feeling, emotions, instinct, and passion. And these are the 3 ingredients to Aries. Emotion, instinct, and passion. But that instinct is important because it is built in a time that is still in Capricorn season. It's built in a time of stillness.
Rooted in Cancer. It's rooted in Cancer. Like the emotion is actually what grounds it and makes it stay still.
Yep. Yeah. It took me a long time to understand this. And what she just said matters because of the square to Chiron and Mars. Chiron will be in Aries around eclipse season, and Mars will be in Cancer. And it took me a long time to understand what the hell does it mean for me to be an Aries, right? I'm Aries triple stellium, but my moon is ran by my Mars is in Cancer. So it's like I had to learn to answer to Cancer. Yeah. I had to learn to answer to Mama. Until I started learning how to answer to Mama, aka Cancer, I was operating in this very unevolved Aryan energy. I didn't understand why things kept coming back. Why, like, any step forward would start going back. And it used to feel like, do I have holes in my pocket? I used to feel like that. I was like, do I have holes in my pocket? But it's because I was ignoring and denying what is the relationship in that squaring energy, that angular energy to Cancer. Yes. And a lot of it was stillness. I kept skipping the stillness part. I skipped the stillness in Capricorn season. I skipped the stillness in Cancer season. Stillness. Yeah. Even in human design, one of the gifts of Cancer, I think is gate 56, is stillness. Yeah. That's the gift of Cancer. It's stillness. And through that, what can we do? We can surf through our nostalgic and prehistoric memory bank. So we realize I've already dealt with all these threats. I've already had to shift and go side to side passively and aggressively through all of these potential dangers that Aries might just want to go attack head on. But when I started understanding and incorporating stillness, this is what Aries needs in these off seasons, not in its season. When it's in its season, it has full green light to fuck shit up unapologetically. But it's not its only wiring. And that's what I want people to understand about this Aryan energy, because this eclipse season, okay, the last chance you have for stillness, if you missed it in Cap season, you missed it last Cancer 2022, the last moment you have still is Pisces season right now.
Yeah.
Right now, we're in Pisces season. It's the last moment. So take the time to rest. My rest game has been ridiculous lately. I've never thought I would love rest so much. I never believed it. If somebody would have told me this 6 years ago, I'd be like, what does that mean? I didn't know what it meant. Yeah. I had no idea what it meant 6 years ago. Yeah. When you talk to me now, I'm like, took a nap yesterday.
Talking to 2 Pisces suns about sleeping. So, like, we love you for this.
I love how you mentioned, like you were saying, you had to kind of reintegrate and understand, like, not just purely work off that Aryan energy. Like, you had to reacquaint yourself in a lot of ways with your moon, or now you say your Mars, right? Mars and Capricorn.
Yeah, the connection, moon and Mars.
And this goes both natally and for transits, but we're working off the cardinal axis, right? So, and Aries is in between Cancer and Capricorn, right? And so it's very easy, if you're not understanding what Capricorn represents, that structure, that reliability on yourself to provide for yourself, but also to have a plan. And you're about that. You can't just be an Aries and just go. If you don't have a plan, you're gonna run into a brick wall and knock yourself out. But also you understand Cancer. Okay, what am I feel? What is the passion? The emotional passion means nothing if it's not rooted in something. Cancer. So Aries right there, you can't, like, we literally call it in evolutionary astrology a skip step. Yeah. You know, like if whatever your sign is, if it's making a square to the nodes that it's in between.
Yep.
Any planet, it's a skip step because you have to reintegrate, you know, where you're going and where you came from, right? And that goes perfectly with Cancer and Capricorn. Cancer, like where we started, family, like what we learned. Capricorn, where we're trying to ascend to up the mountain status.
Yeah.
And Aries is like, well, you're going to go forward, but it's like you need to plan and you need to understand like why you are trying to achieve. Cancer, emotion, right? So I kind of want to draw that in because I love where you're going with that.
Yeah, what feeling you're trying to achieve exactly. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And that's magic because pretty positive. No, that's not true. All right, I was thinking of a transit, but it's not true. It's false. So everybody in the chat, one, I want to say, take a moment to hit the thumbs up. Definitely appreciate this video. Appreciate the guest. I'm going to get ready to shift the gears. I want to talk briefly about Saturn in Pisces and what we need to know in the next 2.5 years while it's there as we shift Saturn into Aquarius. I mean, Saturn into Aries and Neptune in Aries in 2025, because right when this Saturn in Pisces is up, we're going to be going right into Neptune in Aries as well. And Neptune has been in Pisces for how long? I have no idea. I have no idea how long it's been here. So maybe one of us can figure that out. So while y'all hit that thumbs up, give them some appreciation. I'm going to drop their links in the chat. Instagram, I'm going to drop both their Instagrams. And if y'all want, y'all can send me a private message of your links that you want me to share specific. But definitely just want to say, take a moment to just appreciate the audience that's out here. Appreciate the people that's watching this on replay. Make a short, brief announcement about every first and third Sunday I'm running memberships. We're teaching astrology and the combination of human design. It's been absolutely magnificent. It's given me a whole new glance and understanding of astrology itself with these two combinations, because in human design, it's built from astrology in the first place, but it's in the mechanics of a human being, which for all of us, in a sense, matters most, because we can interpret, you know, all day long from a subjective standpoint of, well, here's what I think, here's what I believe, here's what I feel. But there's a simple reality that we're these souls, these spirits who live in a human experience, right? And so this is where I want to say, hey, take this invitation. If it resonates, check the comments and you'll realize, not the comments, but the description, and you'll see that there. So Saturn in Pisces.
You asked when Neptune entered Pisces?
Yeah, when did it go?
There were 6 planets in Aries at that time, and it was conjunct Chiron. It was 2011 in April.
So 2011, and it's
Mars,
2025.
Uranus.
What's that, 24 years?
Yeah.
24 years?
Yeah.
24 years, ladies and gentlemen. We have been in a waking illusion. An awakened illusion. 24 years, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, I'm going to write that in the chat. 2011, Neptune was in Pisces, leaving 2025 into Aries. Okay, so somebody break that down. What the hell does that mean? Well, us being there for the last 24 years and then us moving into. So who wants to take what? Who wants to take the first half of that question? Who wants the second half?
You go ahead.
Okay.
You want to take the Neptune in Pisces, right?
Or
you want
Saturn, or how are we gonna do it?
I want to. So let's tell.
Because I know you were Saturn, but like, are we gonna bring in both? We can talk about.
I see both. What you're saying. You can bring in both. You can bring in both. You can bring in both Saturn in Pisces and Neptune in Pisces, and then Bree will take it into where we're going.
Perfect. Yeah, like right now, we're at the end of where we're like, it's the closing stages of everything. Like everything is culminating and everything's dying. And even if you look at all of our outer planets, Pluto's in Capricorn, Saturn is going into Pisces, Neptune's in Pisces, Uranus is kind of, it's already ahead of the game. It's in Taurus. But we're in that hemisphere. We're in that hemisphere where everything is new. Right, at least everything is about to become new. Taurus is the only one. I mean, Uranus is the only one that's ahead of the game. But right now, we're thinking about. I think we're in a spiritual stage right now, or we're going there, and we're seeing we're seeing old paradigms fall away, right? And I've been looking at this with Pluto and Capricorn more than anything. And I think a lot of people are understanding that, you know, all this materialism, you know, how much money I'm making, you know, how rich I am, how poor I am, like, it doesn't really matter, because like people are like, well, the end of the world is coming anyway. Like, I think honestly, like, and I don't mean to be insensitive about it, but like COVID really showed a lot of people that a lot of this shit really doesn't matter. Things that we thought mattered, it really doesn't. You know, a lot of people lost people that they really cared about, family members. People lost their jobs. You know, like there's so
Their
many
whole careers. Careers, yeah.
There's certain things that we're not going back to, and right now we're in that culmination stage. Like Pluto everything is breaking down. Everything that we thought had structure. I think of I live in LA, and I always tell myself, I tell all my friends, I would never live in downtown. You go downtown LA, it's just skyscrapers everywhere. I said, well, we're an earthquake country. Like if something cataclysmic happened, you're stuck. You're not going anywhere. You're dead. And I'm thinking of like Pluto and Capricorn and bringing that into what I'm talking about with Neptune and Saturn about to be together and Pisces. All that matters is like where we're at spiritually. Nothing else matters. I think people are searching out spiritual ideals and what really matters spiritually. I think people are just getting over the whole 9 to 5 and how much money can I make and how many cars I have and all that stuff. You know, people are like asking the spiritual questions, like people are getting there. And what I'm saying with Neptune and Pisces, you know, everything is dissolving and there's no going back.
Right. 1,000%. 1,000%. So he just explained the last 24 years of what can be considered the Maya or the illusion, okay, that these physical, tangible resources ever mattered when they didn't.
I think 14, is it 14 years or 13?
Since 2011.
Yeah, I think it's like what?
14. My bad. 14 years.
Okay.
Jesus.
I was a long ass time for Neptune to be anywhere.
I thought so too. That's why I was so like, what the fuck? Okay. So 14 years, excuse me. 14 years. For the last 14 years it's been there. And it's like, you know, 14 years, what's magic about that is even our physiological bodies change in every 7 years, right? You add Uranus at a cellular level, you know, what our spirit and our soul is able to communicate, air sign, dominant, able to communicate from literally, let's just say your alien cosmic heritage, your cosmic lineage in Aquarius, what is able to bring down our physical body every 7 years evolves. And it at a molecular level upgrades. And this is when we have our Kundalini awakenings. Every 7 years, everybody has this. Our Kundalini awakenings where our body needs to transform at a cellular level in order to essentially hold the evolution of our spirit, right? And so that's 7 years. Now we're talking double the time. With this Neptunian transit. Go ahead.
Oh, just one more thing. It just like came up very airy and just like popped up. Neptune in Pisces. It's gonna sound weird, but I hope like you guys get it. Like dissolving the illusion, dissolving like what's not real. Like the veil is dropping even more with Neptune in Pisces. And the thing about that, like Neptune takes a long time. It's an outer planet. It's a slow process of dissolution because we're in this fog, right? Especially with this social media and all this stuff, it doesn't help. Like we're just in this haze, and we're trying, like Pluto in Capricorn, like I mentioned, like we need those cataclysmic events to like put us in shock and drag us out of what's not real and what doesn't matter. And we're going into Aries, and Aries is like alert. You know, it's like I see the direction we need to go, but we need to pull out of that fog and that haze and the stuff that's just old and it doesn't work anymore. We're in 2023, and in a lot of ways, we're living as if we're in 1960s, like, you know, mentally.
Oh my God, yes.
You know what I mean? So it's like the future is here. You know, like I was thinking, what's in Aquarius right now? What outer planet is in Aquarius? Saturn.
Pluto's moving in, and Saturn's moving
That's
out.
right. Yeah, Pluto going into Aquarius.
Pluto's moving into Pisces. Pluto's moving out of Capricorn. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was thinking Pluto in Aquarius is going to be that trigger before Neptune goes into Aries. Before it's that. Okay, we're leaving Capricorn behind. I'm sorry, Capricorn. You're not coming with us right now, and we're ushering in a new age. That's just what it is, and it's like it's that question. And right now it goes with the nodes that we're going into. North node in Libra. North node in Aries, South node in Libra. It's okay. The balance of or the choice with Libra. Like which one do you want? You want the old or do you want the new? We all have to make a choice.
Yeah. So the last time that we had Neptune in entering Aries, it was 1699. It's a very, very long time ago. So I haven't seen this type of energy in a long time. Now that at that time, the South Node was in Aries, that Neptune was meeting up with. This time, Neptune will enter Aries with Saturn. That's going to happen February 14th, Valentine's Day, 2026.
2026.
Yeah.
1 year after Neptune. So Bree, take us forward, right? So Ry just helped us understand, essentially what has already happened, whether we were aware or not. So take us forward, right? 2025, Neptune is in Aries. Great. We have this solar eclipse now, which I truly believe is starting to set up for stuff like that. Like at 29 degrees, I mean, like let's talk karma, right?
So my dad actually had this conjunction, this Neptune and Saturn conjunction. He was an infamous heroin dealer and drug dealer and transporter of drugs as well. He also worked in the film industry. He had these energies. He was a Scorpio rising, so he had these energies in Libra. So the exact opposite, actually, of where they're going to be. Neptune and Saturn coming together is an energy of my rules don't apply to the rest of the world, and the rest of the world's rules don't apply to me. It is very much a Wild West energy, a Peter Pan energy. Now, granted, he had it in the 12th house, so it had a very Piscean feel to it. But whenever you stick Neptune with anything, Neptune, Jupiter, Neptune, Uranus, and even Pluto, when you stick them beside anything other than the sun, including Saturn, they are going to overpower that energy. They are going to integrate their energy. So if you have like Neptune with Mars, your Mars is now watery. Your Mars is now very emotionally driven and psychically powered. If you drop it beside Saturn, your structures, your boundaries, your resistance is now completely fluid and cerebral. It is no longer something that is fixed. It is no longer something that is absolute. There is no energy that Neptune can connect to other than the sun that reinforces it and makes it anything but the stronger of the two planets. Because as a generational effect, it is going to wipe through. This Aries is not going to be the same. This Aries could be that we all have a very delusional way of putting boundaries up and acting at, like, again, it's very Wild West frequency is what I'm seeing for like 2020. Is it 2026? Chiron will still be in Aries at that time. Venus will be conjunct the North Node in Pisces. Mercury will be conjunct Venus. The Sun and Mars will be together in Aquarius, and the Moon will be in Capricorn. Jupiter will be in Cancer, retrograding, and Uranus will be finishing up its round in Taurus. It's very much I make my own rules. I am my own government. I am a sovereign being type of frequency, and I could see it being quite a delusionally dangerous time.
Wow. Chris is perfect. I mean, especially you're mentioning I think you said Venus is conjunct something in Pisces, and
yeah, Venus will be at 5 degrees conjunct Rahu or North Node conjunct Mercury at 12. There'll be in a little Pisces stellium.
and you said like Valentine's Day, like people. I mean, it's gonna be very over the top, lovey. Like I think it's gonna be. I'm thinking hippie vibes. I think
Yeah, yeah, I get that too. Yeah,
it's gonna be coming back, just revolutionized.
yeah.
Where people are just like, hey man, you know, everyone's fucking high and everyone just wants to be smoking. It's like 9 to 5s don't exist anymore. We make our own rules now.
I see this could be very much commune energy too. Like very much. I don't know. Maybe it's my Jupiter in Capricorn. I'm a pessimist.
You said very much communist energy?
Yeah, commune.
Oh, commune.
Okay. Like hippie communes, but it could go the way of Charles Manson communes too, right? Like especially.
And this is kind of what I was feeling the warning with, right? Because anytime you think Aries, like you always get warning energy. It's always warning you of something to come. It's always warning you. It's like, you feel me? Like I used to freak out when I was younger. Honestly, even when I was an adult and I started understanding this, like I used to get these warnings. And I had to kind of like really do some past life work for me to really begin to really understand, like, oh shit, in the past, I would warn people of an impeding danger, but no one would listen.
That's that premonition energy of the Pisces underneath the Aries.
You know what I mean?
Totally
premonition. And so I'm feeling it. And this is why I said, like, even my dreams coming up, like 12th house Scorpio and Pluto is like, I'm telling you, I had to do this live to kind of, not to make people nervous, but to preemptively warn people. It kind of goes into what Ry said. I feel hippie energy, but it's almost like hippies that are arms now. They're not, at least in the beginning of the transit, because this is what happens when I feel like you add this Neptune in Aries. You add it when you snatch somebody out of their illusion before they're ready. Because he said it, right? He was like, yo, you know, hopefully you're recognizing the delusion and prepared to face reality in a sense. Aries as a fire sign is very visionary for starters, but it's also very realistic. Like it's very much in the now. Mm-hmm. So it's not going to be able to skip and dilute itself. People that continue to dilute themselves, they're basically going to fail the Pisces and Saturn mission or karma, how I see it. Where, you know, when I look at Saturn and Pisces, it's gonna force us to discipline in the areas of how we escape, whether through sugar, and it's gonna be a major one, okay? Just eating sugar and finding an escape through a high of sugar itself. Drugs is the obvious one, right? Alcohol, weed, whatever you want to call it, crack cocaine, LSD. I think the big one will be the call out in a sense on mushrooms. Mushrooms in a sense, like in one way, it's awakening the collective. In another way, it's like, well, how much do we continue to stay deeply rooted into the psychedelics, right? Mm-hmm. This is the dismantling of how people have essentially stepped on ayahuasca and the sacred plants, because it's no longer sacred in a lot of ways. It's so mainstream. Even the shamans are taking the money. Some of them, a good ass portion of them, are saying, look, I'll take the money, I'll fund the village, right? But this Saturn in Pisces, like, look, we're going to have to get disciplined on, before Aries, disciplined on dealing with our karma in a more realistic manner and not diluting ourselves. Because when you snatch somebody out of their illusion, this is what Neptune in Aries looks like for me. If you didn't do your work in this next 2.5 to 3 years, starting now, okay, it goes there March 7th, starting now, and we just keep maintaining this delusionary aspect with relationships, the relationship axis of Libra and Aries. If we stop, if we don't, like, and it could be sex. You're talking Jupiter energy in Pisces, right? We're talking sex. This is a major one. So Bree talked earlier, okay, you know, summertime, a lot of baby, a lot of sex on the lawn kind of thing, hippie area, right? Hippie era. If we don't start seeing sex from the root of human culture, which is around tribal matters, right? This is bringing us back to our instinct, Aries instinct. We're talking tribal shit. If we don't start seeing sex itself as a tribal and instinctual draw, where this is the simplicity, right? If you're having sex with a random stranger, random stray, that has an impact on the family or the tribe, because if your grandma needs to now take care of babies before the tribe as a whole is ready because the daughter or their son made a preemptive or premature or even just a nonsensical, delusionary, I can have this baby and somebody's going to take care of it. It's like that puts the family and the ancestors and the culture back a couple notches. And so I feel like this is going to be us putting restrictions on sexuality, but not in a sense, we're going to free ourselves sexually more, quite frankly, but freeing ourselves sexually is going to put a stamp on this polyamorous in the manner that, the future has said. Now I could just have sex with anybody. I could just cheat on anybody. I'm in an open relationship. That shit's not going to keep flying because we're going to be forced to remember our tribal instincts on, look, we have to be a little bit more responsible. We have to be leaders and we have to be honest and a little less delusional on drugs, sex, sugar, any form of escape, because there are consequences. And those Neptune and Aries, we're going to see the reality of those consequences. And what has it done on a global scale when now you're looking at Europe, the US, China, and Russia, they're looking to, and they have been forever, make a one power. And so when you put everybody under this one rule, this dictatorship rule, it doesn't matter what Colombia is doing and freaking Bali, all these places that people are just like, I want to go here and travel and live this, whatever lavish lifestyle. Those countries are going to be wiped in a sense under a one power control. And this is what we're talking at Gemini, Uranus, and getting to the point where, you can't get into certain buildings. You are going to be forced to live in a certain, either you're going to be choosing to be in the bubble or outside the bubble and take a tribal mentality. And when you step outside the one government and you're in a tribe, guess what? There are tribe rules outside of that narrative. You feel me? It's like, unless you're going to take certain cutbacks on being in the system, which you're going to, I don't know how Aquarius is going to deal with that very well. Right? Aquarius is like, I ain't down with that. So I ain't down with that, right? I ain't trying to be under the needle of somebody else where I have to give up my individuality. That's not going to work between Aquarius and Aries. That stuff is going to really, we're going to have to face some tough realities. And that's what I really wanted to say around Neptune and Aries. We're going to have to face some true tough reality. We're not going to be able to turn a blind eye because when has Aries ever? And Bree talked earlier around the full moon in Libra. We got the Pluto and Libra generation. They have been able to, on the shadow side of Aries, turn that blind eye or take the route of less tension, least aggression. We're not going to be able to keep doing that forever.
Have you ever tried to speak sovereignty into a Pluto and Libra? They don't deal with it well. They just like, what? No, you can't do anything without the government. Oh, have fun without your birth certificate. Actually, all of my will, but thank you. That's their natural is like, I've conformed to everything. How could you dare say that I can't? You know what I mean? Like, that's my power. My power comes from the fact that I conform and compromise. You know what I mean? That's all about to be wiped away. But we'll see.
Let's talk. I feel like we didn't do justice by Libra, and Libra matters when we talk Aries. Let's do justice by Libra. What is the positive, even the futuristic form of Libra, right? Like what makes you Libra unique in this equation? Because it does matter, right? There is a higher frequency of Libra that is not about compromise.
No, it's about tact.
Boom.
Tact and politeness. I regularly teach my clients who I do readings for that it is much more important how you leave a person than how you attach to them. Mm-hmm. So if you meet somebody and you're like, here's my whole life, here's my I love you and everything else. When you're breaking up with someone and you're disconnecting with someone, regardless of how hard they did you, if you can leave them on a positive thing that you can be proud of, that is Libra grace. And you will give yourself a chance to attach to somebody else without a frayed edge. Now, can
I say interrelate rather than attach?
Okay, yeah.
Can I say interrelate? Right? No, but you're right on point though. You're right on point. I've seen this in myself. I have historically detached from relationships, not in the healthiest of manner. It was like, I don't feel right. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Right? Like there wasn't much tact involved. It was like, something's wrong. You're doing me dirty. I don't understand fully what that's about. but it doesn't matter because I'm in a crap place. And I'm saying this from an Aryan mentality. It's like I'm just gonna choose myself because boundaries were crossed. I don't even know where at this point. Yeah. And a lot of it, when I look at reality says I crossed a lot of my own boundaries and I allowed a lot of people to cross my boundaries that didn't exist. That was what reality said. And so Libra and relationships have really had to show and reveal this to me in reflection. But back to what you said, you know, ending relationships, when I found myself ending relationships with tact and finding a way to say, look, I don't hate you. I actually respect the hell out of you because of you, I have progressed my karma and I helped you progress your karma. And whether we actually continue to talk or not, it's actually not necessary.
No.
How it ends, that part it's not necessary. Whether we talk or we don't talk, no. It really matters little. It matters very little. But what does matter is, and this is where I feel like when we talk Libra, and I say like something like interrelate, this is where I feel like it matters truly that Libra is the exaltation of Saturn, the exaltation of karma, back to the kidneys, back to the water and its ability to filtrate water, aka karma or karmic memory, to excrete the karma that essentially it has been either surpassed or no longer necessary, right? We learned the lesson, great. And just to say for everybody else, you know, we talk tribal, now we have to think and focus on how do we integrate water-based vegetables, which is bringing in fresh karma, right? Mm-hmm. So if we cook the vegetable, let's say too much, this is how, again, food really, really matters. Like we're humans. This is back into the human design part of astrology with the kidneys and everything I'm talking. But it's like if we don't reintegrate the water-based foods and we essentially kill or drain or dehydrate the water, understand that the karma we're taking back in is also diluted. So it's not as powerful, which means our powers, our gifts, and everything else. And Libra is responsible for a lot of that process. If you do the skip step from Cancer to Capricorn, who's there?
Libra.
Bam.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we just like I know I was talking about that earlier. Like it's working off that cardinal cross.
Yeah.
Libra, like one of my favorite things about Libra is it won't leave you in the cold, right? It's like, oh, like come with me, like let's do this together. And we're living in this world where I call social media anti-social media, right? Because it's in a lot of ways it's dividing us a hell of a lot more than it's bringing us together. You know, it's like nobody wants to hang out anymore because they've got their 5,000 followers on social media and all this. You know, with Libra, it's like no, like let's not be so divisive. Aries is like the low vibrational essence of Aries. It's cutting people off.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And do me, and you do you, I'll do me, and like I always feel like an eye for an eye. But if we're playing that game, everybody's going to go blind. Like nobody's going to win. Libra's like, no, I don't. That's
it doesn't work. You're right. It doesn't work.
Yeah, it's Libra's like instead of fighting, let's come together and let's make something together. You know, it's ruled by Venus. Like literally, let's make something together. Let's make a baby. You know, making a baby, the baby comes out, it's innocent. It's it's until the toxins of society gets into a person is where we start getting messy and all that stuff. But Libra, in a sense, it's two individuals coming together and then saying, I'm going to give my best effort, you give your best effort, and let's build something, and then that's when you go to Capricorn and then you start making the round trips.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yo, to what you just said, you just reminded me of something. And here's interesting. Like, if I look at a different aspect, if I look at like the spleen, right? Libra has these spleen responsibilities as well, along with other zodiacs. It's not as simple because Leo was just part of it as well, but Scorpio too. But whatever. Libra, part of its spleen, when you talk intuition, it's this awareness center, right? When you get back into human, it's this awareness center. And one of the gates, gate 32, is this gate it's a Libra gate, and it's a gate of continuity. So my point is, it's the higher frequency of Aries when you talk back into that tribal essence of communing, right? Where it's trying to find a tactful way to bring us together, but it also understands how to tactfully excrete and get rid of somebody from the tribe who's bringing the rest of the tribe down. When you have that one person, you gave them 5 warnings, whatever it is, right? You set the rules, you set the laws of this tribe, of this group. Libra is also understanding how to tactfully cut that person off, aka part of Aries' abilities, but tactfully, because it realizes if we keep this bad apple, we're all gonna suffer. So the continuity of this relationship, you're done. And it is very ruthless in the manner in which it does that.
I heard once an expression, I think it was by, I can't remember her name now, I feel bad, but she said that Libra is the steel hand in the velvet glove. And I was like, yes. Like, yes. It's the gavel, right? It
has to make the rules.
And again, it goes back to that Saturn exaltation, right? Like, I am going to implement the rule here. It's not personal. It's not personal. This isn't about you. This is about the greater good, the greater story, the higher mind. Yeah. Because again, it's like you're looking at an air sign, right? So you're incorporating Gemini, all the facts, and Aquarius, which is the higher mind, right? So when you've got a sign ruled by Venus that is air, it's going to be pleasant. It's going to be tactful, but it's still going to be ruthless. Mm-hmm. Like, it's still like the lower level of Libra is to gossip, is to say one thing and do another thing, which is a lot of the time people equate that to Gemini energy, but it's not. It's actually Libra energy, is to say, like, give you a happy face and then turn around and call you names behind your back. That's very
passive aggression.
It is. It's very lower level Libra frequency. Like, when I think of like lower level Libra frequency, I think of Judge Judy. How she makes people, you know what I mean? Like, she's very ruthless and she's very cruel, unnecessarily cruel and mean. And same with Simon Cowell. He has that same kind of frequency where he's just being mean to be mean, because that's his edge. That's his show ability.
So I want to add on to that. I feel like it's not as simple as being mean to be mean, but it's being mean in order to create a connection of power. Mm-hmm. Because you take Judge Judy, right? She's on TV.
Yeah.
She is considered the image of a judge.
Right.
Yeah. Everybody knows this is Libra. It's when it chooses to be mean just to be known, just to have and create a powerful connection, a powerful relationship. So at the end of the day, she's the image of judges.
Yeah.
Her, Judge Joe Brown, we'll call it. I don't know if it's Joe Brown, but Judge Brown, I think, was one of them. They chose a media path. They're not really in it for the law.
No.
They're not really in it for the law, right? They're not really in it to be fair. They're in it on the low frequencies to show what does TV want? It wants drama and it wants separation.
Division.
It wants to expand the illusion of separation.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, I forgot about this, but Libra actually rules over the skin as well, which is another secretion, right? Like, it's another delusion, and it also moves the water out.
Sweat.
Yeah.
Absolutely, sweat. But
also pimples.
right. Which is now a manifestation of, right? Like, that's a ... We could ... that one, because the pimple is now the manifestation of, okay, something that's getting excreted out, but it's still in a sense held in, and then it takes a disgusting exit when it's ready, right? Or we learn the lesson and it deswells and comes back in. It's like it could rise to show, hey, you're about to basically. It depends on how we treat the pimple. It depends on how our actions are. And the other thing you said about the skin, you me inspiration. It goes back into Aries, where what happens when we're in danger with the skin? What does the hairs do?
Hot and red.
They shoot up.
Yeah, well, and the blood comes through. You can see the blood through the skin.
Yeah.
Excited.
Yeah, exactly. And that's his fight or flight mode. And that warning, you look at a cat. What does a cat do when a spirit comes in the home, or a spirit is getting ready to attack its owner? What does it do? And what does the hairs do? It shoots up. And those hairs, remember, those hairs work as antennas. So one thing I learned about Libra is, again, is like, Libra gets information from Aquarius. Aquarius is like way out there in space, right? But Libra has the ability. Aquarius is like, look, I don't really want to talk to people. Not like that. Like, I have the ideas, I have the concepts. I got the futuristic knowledge from Uranus and yada yada yada. I got this intergalactic information, but I can pass that to Libra. And so the hair on the antennas of Libra skin, it also has the ability to be receptive to the energy that the information, the technology that Libra could bring. And then Libra can actually populate that and push that.
Absolutely.
It can push that among the people.
Yeah.
In a much better way than Libra and than Aquarius, in my personal opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I was gonna ask. I gotta head out soon.
Yeah. I was gonna say this is getting ready to.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, yeah, if we're gonna wrap up soon, I want to stay. But yeah.
No. So I take it like this. Ready? Of everything we talked about today, if the both of you give us a final note of everything we talked, right? We got Venus in Aries, we got North Node in Aries, we got this Libra contradiction energy to Aries, right? Everything we spoke today. What do you feel the people, okay? The people need to hear most. Less of what we want to say. What do you feel the people, from a heart center, the people need the most on this full entire message? Who wants to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first then. Well, I think we need to, like, because we started off like in the here and now, and then like we started like, oh, in the future, like let's prep for the future. I think we have to remember that right now is so pivotal, especially because it is Aries season. It really is the start of a new arc, a new story in our lives. And I think it's important for each of us individually to look at, okay, like what chapter are we coming from? Like what was the storyline that we're coming out of, and what storyline would we like to go into? That's where we're at right now. Everything is about to start over.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking about, okay, who are the people in my life I need to let go? The stuff that's just dragging me down, you know? But what do I want to acquire that's going to bring me up and allow me to go in the direction that I want to go into? That's where we're at right now. Like, so, I mean, I guess right now, just remember, like, this is the start of, you know, a story arc that's going to, like, be that story for years to come. And I think right now is, like, the most pivotal moment. So, yeah.
Bree, what you got? Thank you for that, right? Anybody in the meanwhile ask questions. Bree's going to give give us her last take, all right? What do you feel from a heart center that the people truly need in this the full entirety of this message?
These next few weeks before the eclipse happens in April are our last chances to digest the last 30 years of our lives.
Bree?
Can you hear me?
That's me. I broke up. That's me. Go ahead. I'm shutting up.
So yeah, from now until April 18th is the last chance for us to digest what we've just experienced over the last 30 years. As Saturn moves into Pisces, we are releasing everything over the next 2.5 years. We are releasing all of the delusions so that we can actually believe real, new, concrete dreams that will manifest into our storylines for the next 30 years. And it takes letting go of a lot that may have felt permanent for a really long time. It may have been permanent to every generation that you can even speak to that's a living generation around you. But the dream that you have in your head and in your heart is about to manifest into something they could never imagine. And it's going forward into the Aries season that requires that. By March 21st, we're in a new paradigm. So it's between now and then that you get to dream it up, but you got to let go of what you think you know before that.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. Ry, Bree, can you both drop your Instagram links in the chat so that people can find you? And if not Instagram, drop a link, like whatever the hell the link is, drop it there. Let people have the chance to find you. I see a lot of people who are in the comments. They're really agreeing with you. In the meanwhile, they gave it to you. I don't feel like I need to say anything from this point. What I will say is definitely hit the thumbs up and the likes button. We really appreciate y'all for being here. I want you to definitely check them both on IG or wherever they say to go find you. You know, check it out. Get the heads up. Move accordingly. Hear this message. This eclipse is no joke. All right. This is a very different eclipse energy than the Scorpio and the Taurus axis. Okay. That's dealing with the axis of growth, finances, intimacy, letting go. This is entirely different. This is the axis of relationships, right? How we relate with others. I'm dropping I'm dropping Rise right here. Just look him up right there. Just RyBland Astrology. That said, everybody hit the thumbs up. Every first and third Sunday, if you're looking to learn more and more about human design and astrology, we are running those memberships. We're here generating an economy of harmony, leveraging human design astrology, combining human design, combining astrology, trying to take a brand new look at the whole scheme of things. And I just want to say really thank you, as well as taking our guest back in the picture for a moment to say thank you to both of them. All right. Give them some support, show them some love. I think they dropped in the comments where you can find them. And, you know, I would love to probably have y'all back on the channel sometime in the future. I really enjoyed this.
Mars, we got to do a Mars water thing.
We have to.
We have to do a Mars water thing.
Mars and water signs?
Yeah.
I would love that.
Yeah. Dude,
I would love that.
Thanks for having me. This was awesome. This was fun. Like a lot of insights, and like obviously, like I'm sure all of us like thinking about things that like just come to mind, and we've never thought about it before. And hearing you guys
For real.
Energy, it was awesome. I love this.
Yeah, man. You know, I think this is where it really, really begins, right? Like we all talking about unity, but it's like as astrologers, obviously we can take some glances into the future in a very unique manner. It's like, but are we really, you know, leading that connection to others, right? Or are we prioritizing and being so individualistic that it's like my way or the highway because that's already been done, right? So I think this is really where, at least from one of my personal efforts, this is part of why I look to do these things. So it's like, this was not possible before, right? I keep going back to your post about this, but you know, he put a post up before. It's like, if you're a witch, if you're somebody could tell the future, if you're somebody that was in tune with nature or the natural cycle of things, you were killed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have to take advantage of it now.
Yes.
You know, I always tell people, you know, like being an astrologer in 2023 is something that we shouldn't take for granted, or not even just in astrology, but like energy work in general.
Yes.
Right? Because it is true. This is factual. Like in ancient times, even 50 years ago, people were just like, you'll be shunned for even speaking of such things. But now it's like it's Pluto and Scorpio, like we're here, you know. So
it's exposed, it's done, it's out of there. You know, what's the next? Oh, Pluto and Sagittarius, they the ones really changing shit. They ripping it. They're changing everything. They're like, look, all inclusive everything. So hey, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I'm gonna say hasta luego to my guest, Ry. You're in LA. I got trips that I gotta go take there, so that's good to hear. LA is, I'm like in Mexico. I'm right beneath you. I'm an hour away or some shit. Like I'm not far at all. So when the time comes, I'll reach out. I see you all. Thank you for the thumbs up and the support. Love.
All right, guys.
Thank you.